Ken Botero is the one responsible for setting these up, so he gets the credit. If there's something that screws up, I'm his partner and I get the blame. Ken is also our timer for the evening. Yeah, see how that works? That's just the way it goes. I understand we do. Yes, Ken?
Do you want to introduce Chris because he's the one that made all of that?
Sure. Go ahead, Chris. Stand up and take it. Canterbury Park has been very gracious in allowing us the use of the room for this forum. It's a bit uncomfortable for me saying that since I am a Koelsch. I'm not part of the same Koelsch. Yeah, we are part of the same Koelsch, but it's my cousins that have the facilities. And they do a great job in these facilities.
Yes,
we're really thankful
yes.
for the use of those. We do have Duaine taping in the back, and I forgot to ask you before, Duaine, are you doing this for KLTV or are these YouTubes that you're going to be? Both? KLTV and YouTube. And I do understand we have somebody from the Daily News, and we had somebody earlier from the Daily News. So we do have media coverage. As I said, my name is Mark Koelsch. I'll be the moderator this evening. We have with us tonight Tony Filipello and Jeff Wilson. They're both running for the Port of Longview Commission posts. See, Tony won the toss, but deferred, so you'll be going second. Jeff will be going first this evening. The format, they'll both have opening statements for 3 minutes. Then we'll start the questions. The first response will be 3 minutes. They have up to 2 minutes for a rebuttal or response. As you saw in the previous, it doesn't mean you have to use the full 2 minutes, and sometimes you get more questions that way if we're able to move along. Any questions before I begin?
You got my point?
See how trustworthy Ken is? There you go. There's your coin.
They need to pay you more, Ken.
And I would just tease him a little bit because he just brought me a blank card too. With that, opening statement, Jeff Wilson.
Thank you and good evening, everybody. My name is Jeff Wilson. Take a good look at me tonight. It's a very rare appearance. I'm wearing a tie tonight. Get the camera ready to prove that it's happened. I tied it myself. But I really wanted to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule today. I'll make this short. I'm off script. Very quickly, it's because of you that take the time to educate and inform yourself and care about all of the issues facing the community. So for me to thank you for making time out of your Monday night to be here. And I'll start by telling a little bit about internal passions I have. The one that's going to drive me tonight is the power of voting. To be a registered voter and then act on that to vote is a very important process. So for those of you that are voters, please vote for me. But for those of you that are not voters, we just happen to also bring voter registration cards tonight. It's a very important process. I couldn't imagine anybody not being a voter. With that said, let's talk about my personal story here to Longview. I'm an import. I came to Longview at the ripe old age of 10 with my mother and father. My mom is here. Hi, Mom. And she's the fact checker. So at 10 years old, we arrived in Longview. And I remember coming down the Longview Rainier Hill and looking over the beautiful Cowlitz County thinking, wow, what a great place this is going to be. And it's fulfilled every one of my dreams since then. I'm 55 years old now, no longer 10. I'm married with 2 children. My wife is here and daughter. Hello, everybody. And my education, I attended all public schools locally. Graduated Mark Morris, then I went on to Western to study both business and history. Coming back from school, I love to work. And my story is that at age 10, I received my first job for a whopping 25 cents an hour, and I haven't stopped working since. I don't plan on that. I enjoy work, and I believe in participation in your community. Currently, I own a company called TPI. It's not a dinner time topic, but it is a portable sanitation restroom business. However, businesses like that have taught me common sense and to apply it. Everybody has it, but when you own your own businesses, you need to apply it on a regular basis in order to be successful. All of the businesses I have started and operated have been successful. That's given me the ability to acquire those skills to move us forward. And the position I'm seeking, the port needs to be moving into the 21st century. And that's going to be my vision. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Filippello?
Do we stand up for every question?
You can choose to sit down or
sit down
stand.
because there's going to be a lot of standing and sitting. My name is Tony Filipello, and I was born and raised in this community. Born at Monticello, attended schools throughout this community, and graduated from Mark Morris in 1991. After graduation in the same month, I was delayed enlistment and went in the United States Air Force, where I served 4 years in canine law enforcement and did such duties as presidential bond dog support. When I completed my 4 years, I decided that, you know, I've been up and down the East Coast and in the South in different countries, but there was something drawing me back to this community, and it was the people and it was the area. And so I decided to come back after 4 years of the Air Force, and I was throwing opportunities left and right. What do you want to do? What do you want to be? And I chose to be an electrician. And in that time, I worked for a couple of companies here in town, and then was a foreman for a company down in Portland for a while and traveled back and forth. But there was something deeper, and I wanted to pursue my master electrician's license, and I decided that that was important, and I did that. Moving on, I see I only have 1 minute left. There's a little shorter than I thought. My basic goal here is to serve the community, the people in this community, and I want to make sure that everybody has a good family wage working job if they want it. In that, we have only so much area as an economic development area, and we need to develop that. So thank you.
Thank you. First question will be given to Mr. Wilson first, and it is, do you believe longshoremen have too much influence over port politics, or do you see this as not a problem? How would you go about promoting a good relationship with longshoremen while balancing the needs of other constituents?
ILWU 21 is currently as a working agreement with the Port of Longview, and that's not going to change. There are also other unions that work at and other trades that work for the Port of Longview besides longshoremen. That's a point of clarification. The working relationship with the Port of Longview is very intricate, and it's a very good and solid relationship. They have a good working relationship, and as far as the longshoremen and politics go, they have the same exercise or rights that you would have to vote people in or out of office. The longshoremen are an organization that is a very important part of the economic team that the port works with on a daily basis, and they have to be included in the future vision in the process to be seen. They work there. It's part of their daily activities, as well as the other trades and unions. It's not just the longshoremen. I would take the question and expand it to additional unions. But do they have more political power than others? How can they? You're still able to vote and unvote people as you may from office and whatnot. So if that's the case, I don't see it as that. I don't believe they have too much power per se, because the process allows everybody gets the same ability to vote people in and out of office. So with that, I respect the longshoremen, and they're part of the process, and I look forward to working with them. They are a partner to the port, economic partner.
Thank you. Same question, Mr. Filippello. Would you like me to repeat it?
Sure, that'd be great.
Do you believe longshoremen have too much influence over port politics, or do you see this as not a problem? How would you go about promoting a good relationship with longshoremen while balancing needs of other constituents?
So the ILWU has a working contract with the port, right? And I think it's a contract that works very well. Is there some influence? Of course there is. It's with any kind of contract you're going to have influence. But it's good working relations, and I think that you definitely need to get along with your working labor, and I think it's a good relationship, and I don't see any need for change or necessarily improvements there.
Thank you. Mr. Wilson, response or rebuttal?
Yes, I would take that a little bit further on the organized end of things at the port, and that the longshoreman's opinion does matter, and you need to get that opinion early on in the process. The port has a process they call now a vetting process. It's a cargo committee of such. It's a process when new clients and cargoes are approached the port to conduct business, and the longshoremen need to have that voice. They need to have it heard. They are vested partners because they work there, but not just the longshoremen. There are many other groups and organizations that need to be heard, and heard early on in the vetting process. And the port is going to reform some of those processes, if I have anything to do with it, of course, to allow a more open and fair vetting process for new cargoes. The longshoremen will be present with a 1 vote, and everybody else will be there with a 1 vote, equally.
Thank you. Response, Mr. Filippello?
Oh, that was good.
All right. Question number 2 will be directed first at Tony Filipello, and it is, during the past several years, ports along the lower Columbia River, including the Port of Longview, have experienced strong development interest related to the nation's energy market. What is your position on bringing new energy projects into the Port of Longview, and why?
So, my position on new energy projects, I'm just going to tackle the 900-pound gorilla in the room, which is the oil refinery. I believe this is a good economic footprint for our community. I do like what it does as far as job creation. You know, there's a couple of things, just so you know, I'm going to read off here. It's the U.S. largest advanced renewable fuels facility, having the lowest carbon footprint of any U.S. refinery, and capable of meeting the state's proposed low-carbon fuel standards, creating 400 construction jobs and $8 million in tax revenue. You know, I think this is a very valuable and essential part for the port to commit, and hopefully the community through the open houses can see this and support the port in it, because we're at a kind of a detriment in our county right now, and we do need that in that job creation and economic footprint.
Thank you. Mr. Wilson, same question. Would you like it repeated?
I don't repeat it. I have a little bit of a problem with the question. I'm not a shy person, so bear with me. When you say energy, to me, that would define all forms of energy, fossil, renewable, and whatnot. And so, as with any project that comes to the port, if you say the E word, energy, they're going to be heard. From the fossil fuels all the way down to the renewable and the eco-friendly fuels. You have to, as a port, you cannot prejudice anybody. The port runs an economic engine. Their job and their major thrust and their responsibility is to be the economic driver in this community. It has to look at everything. So the E word, to me, I would like to change that word in the question to everything, not just energy. And as far as the energy, there are energy, obviously, projects that are being considered in the port. There is no way I can stand before you tonight and make such an opinion. It is a voluminous amounts of process that will afford us more information to make an educated decision, such as environmental impact statements, reviews, and CFAs. The process has just started. I can't wait to see how be part of that process to engage that to make a better decision.
Thank you. Mr. Filippello, response?
That's true. There is a lot of economic, impact that needs research that needs to be done. These are things that I'm not very vested in or know much about, but the fact of the matter is, we need economic jobs. We need good family wage jobs. And if we keep turning down everything or not listening to people that need, I'm sorry, I'm rambling on. It's my next question, sorry.
All right. You actually have a chance to respond if you'd like. Yes.
It's going to be a controversial topic. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. I'm built for this. This is what I like to do because I'm hungry to know what you think. I'm not going to tell you what to think on energy projects. It's very controversial. I'm going to seek to know what you know. And we have to get there together. We have to get there in a process through gathering information. And I'm going to be looking at industry that also will be good corporate neighbors, good citizens to this community. And I believe of the B word. I believe there's a little bit of balance. It doesn't all have to be smokestacks, ladies and gentlemen. We live here. There's quality of life issues and whatnot. We can make these decisions together, but nothing's going to be decided tonight whatsoever. This is a long haul. I'm prepared for it, and I hope you'll join me in that journey.
Thank you. Third question will be directed first at Mr. Wilson. There's a multitude of questions regarding the park, so I'm going to kind of combine and paraphrase here, but Port of Longview Commissioners voted to assume ownership of Willow Grove Park from Cowlitz County. Do you see Willow Grove Park as a benefit to the future of the Port of Longview and the community? And if so, how? What process would you use to determine the best uses and upgrades for Willow Grove Park?
The Willow Grove Park in itself is becoming a hot topic. It shouldn't be. Commissioner Karnofsky is here from Cowlitz County, and I appreciate you coming tonight too, sir. the Willow Grove is just one of many topics. You're going to have the airport, you're going to have Barlow Point, you're going to have capital improvement projects at the port proper. You're going to be inundated with large projects. Willow Grove is one of them. Willow Grove, at first, I didn't like. I didn't like it. I went to the port meetings and I jumped up and down and said, you didn't do your due diligence. It was going to unravel. The deal did unravel. I didn't want to be right. I want it to be rightly done. I want the process to afford that it is done properly. Willow Grove is a wonderful jewel and a gem for us to recreate at. Who wouldn't want Willow Grove, or more likely, who would want Willow Grove to go wayside? I believe the port is the agency that should be responsible for Willow Grove. Unfortunately, it costs money. So money is going to be key in the budget process with the port as to how well Willow Grove turns out under the port management.
Thank you. Same question, Mr. Filippello?
Well, I was on board from the very beginning for Willow Grove. For me, you know, we have millions of taxpayers' dollars in it, and it makes sense that if Cowlitz County is going to give it up instead of going to a private owner that's going to make a gated community out of it. I would rather see it go to the people, and so they can continue to use it. I've attended many workshops, and I've seen the perspective and many models, and I'm excited about it. And that's one of my, one of my big campaign themes is I want to make sure that this does happen and that it does go through. Everybody talks about taxation with representation, and this would have a substantial amount of representation.
Thank you. Response, Mr. Wilson?
No response.
Anything else?
No.
All right, we'll move on to question 4. It's also a combination of a couple of questions. What do you see as major infrastructure needs at the Port of Longview? How should infrastructure costs be paid for? Revenue from port activities or property taxes? Would you strive to reduce or eliminate the port's property tax? This is actually directed first at Mr. Filippello.
Again, taxation with representation. I'm not going to make any promises and say that I'm going to cut taxes because it clearly, it's not by the means of one person. It's a 3-commission board. So as far as infrastructure, there are some infrastructure issues that I'm aware of as far as the building. These are all things that are going to be laid out when I become commissioner. And, there's going to be different issues that come up all the time that take more precedence than others.
Thank you. Mr. Wilson?
Mr. Mark, would you repeat the question, please? Sake
I
of
will.
myself and the audience.
Try and make this same combination here. What do you see as the major infrastructure needs at the Port of Longview? How should infrastructure costs be paid for? Revenue from port activities or property taxes? Would you strive to reduce or eliminate the port's property tax?
I made him repeat the question because it's a big question, and because I don't want you to be confused, because I get confused easily. It took me years of attending port meetings to learn this, to become a student of the port. The port capital improvements are not just berth 1 through 8 at the Port of Longview. You're now dealing about the Southwest Regional Airport. You're dealing with the needs of Barlow Point, which is an unpainted yet canvas, and Willow Grove. The needs are tremendous, so some tough decisions are going to come your way. The port has made millions in net profit. How can we look at you and say, I still need your $3.1 million a year tax collected from the 45 cents per 1,000 maximum that we're allowed by law to tax you with? How do you do that? Well, in my opinion, you can't. If the way the port is continuing with record revenues, which is kudos to port staff and their shippers and their customers, that's one way to handle it. But I think that there may be other capital needs, so this tax is probably going to have to go if record revenues proceed, unless you can come up with a better excuse to apply it that you all want to see it done.
Mr. Filippello?
The only thing I have is I don't think the port should have to lose money to warrant taxes.
Okay. Any response or rebuttal?
Yeah, let's make it really clear here. The Port of Longview is an operating port. It runs and collects purely, its income is generated by operating revenue, with the exception of this tax. So it is cut and dry. It is fairly simple to collect the tax or not to collect the tax. It's going to be based on the need. What are your wishes? What do you want to see the vision to be? You, quite frankly, at this point, you're not going to have enough money to get the wish list all done. But I think that your voice is very important and it needs to be heard. How do you want your taxes spent, if you want them collected at all? I can't make any promises because I'm waiting to see the outcome of the Kelso, the Southwest Regional Airport and Willow Grove and Barlow Point. That's going to drive the budget building process the Port is working on now, which then will change the strategic plan, which is due up in 2017. It's kind of a stay tuned thing.
Thank you. Question 5, excuse me. Yes, question 5 will be directed first at Mr. Wilson. The Columbia River Shipping Channel Deepening Project has resulted in increased ground transportation traffic into and out of the port and the industrial area. The Port of Longview is a partner agency for efforts to improve the Industrial Way, Oregon Way intersection. What is your opinion of the importance of this project?
Well, when Congress finally parted with this $25 million to go just 3 feet deep in the river a few years ago, that was monumental. The only missing accessory to that is the expansion and the growth of the Industrial Way, Oregon Way intersection known as 432, 433 interchange. Finally, we got $85 million pried away from everybody in King County, and we got it to Cowlitz County. We got some tax money, $85 million to seed a $350 million project. Make no qualms about this. 432, 433, Industrial Way, Oregon Way, is the most important, single most important infrastructure thing that you're going to see visible that will impact your daily life. Whether you're a bicycle rider for the STP bicycle race, whether there's an accident, the guy that runs out of gas and backs up the bridge, a train derailment, 432, 433, it really is a key that you're going to put into a door that is going to make major infrastructure improvements. You can bank on it for the future.
Thank you. Mr. Filippello, your turn. Would you like the question read? It was a bit long.
Yes, that's fine. Please.
The Columbia River Shipping Channel Deepening Project has resulted in increased ground transportation traffic into and out of the port and the industrial area. The Port of Longview is a partner agency for efforts to improve the Industrial Way, Oregon Way intersection. What is your opinion of the importance of this project?
I think it's very important. 432, 433 intersection, you know, the 10 million tons of cargo that go through there a day are a detriment and back up and, you know, clog up congestion. It's going to allow flow for commerce, and when, you know, Barlow Point gets developed, it'll allow truck traffic, not to mention all the extra railway that's going to go in there. It's very important, and it's going to be a really neat project and a huge asset to this community.
Thank you. Chance to response or rebut?
Yes, thank you. I won't miss many chances to respond. I do enjoy this topic. 432, 433 is such a monumental deal, but what's important to remember is the process is going to be preserved. And kudos to the Port of Longview for actually stepping up and becoming a partner to this project and also facilitating the environmental impact statement. Every one of these projects are not a done deal. They're going to follow that process. And you're going to want to know the results of these processes. There's going to be a lot of answers given to you. What are the impacts? And that's why things like environmental impact statements are critical. You wouldn't think it much. How does an overpass of concrete and asphalt possibly impact the environment? It can and it does. And it's a question that you deserve an answer to. So this process is an exciting project. I don't really see any nay to it. But I want to make sure that process is preserved so you get all those answers again to believe as strongly as I do in it.
Thank you. Mr. Filippello, response or?
My response is good.
Okay. We'll move on to the next question. This will be directed to Mr. Filippello first. There are multiple questions, but I'm just going to go to the most succinct one. How do you feel about the port taking over the Kelso Airport?
Well, right now the Kelso Airport is essentially run by 4 different entities: Longview, Kelso, Cowlitz County, and the port. 100% taken over by the port. I haven't given that much thought, to tell you the truth. It's something that I think someone is going to eventually take it over, for sure. The airport is an essential piece for the port and for economic value and economic footprint. But I'll tell you the truth, I really haven't given that much thought as far as taking it over 100%.
Thank you. Mr. Wilson, same question?
Again, I think get the flashcards ready on time on this. The Southwest Regional Airport is a big deal. It has to be decided in 2016. You can no longer wait. In fact, the Port of Longview can no longer wait. The Port of Longview has passed a resolution, ladies and gentlemen. It is already on their books. It is already on the intent for the port to become the operating and the surviving member to the Southwest Regional Airport. If you don't agree with that, then it's time that we undo the resolution. If you support that, do nothing. The resolution will carry it forward. It's coming up to a decisive theater near you. The first quarter of 2016, the Kelso, the Southwest Washington Regional Airport, will have to have an answer. The economy over there, and there are some severe issues. I'm very familiar with the Kelso Airport. I attend their meetings. I'm also a previous pilot. I don't fly anymore, and you don't want to ride with me. It wasn't a good one. But I'm very knowledgeable of the airport, and it is such an important structure to the entire community. That's why we're going to make this decision first quarter of next year. It has to come on the table again.
Thank you. Mr. Filippello, response or rebuttal?
I think what I would do is, like I said, I haven't researched the airport much. It is obviously a hot topic. There's a lot of other hot topics, but it's something that I'm going to have to look a little further into.
Thank you. You do have a chance to.
No, thank you, sir.
Okay. Moving on to question number 7. This will be directed to Mr. Wilson first. From economic development and job creation to waterfront recreation and enhancing the quality of life, the Port of Longview provides many benefits to our region. Describe your vision of the Port of Longview in 10 years. What areas should be the primary focus?
Well, the focus isn't going to change. Focus cannot change. Again, the merit, the structure, the way the backbone of Port of Longview provides the community is an economic engine. That will always be its priority. I like that question because it also enveloped the other things in life that matter just as much besides good family wage jobs. The environment, the quality of life, these things are very critical. My vision for the port to take it to the 21st century is a port that you're not going to recognize. I've already alluded to the fact that the port now has changed right in front of our own eyes. It's now in the recreation business. It's slated to get a big park. It's probably going to be in the airport business. It's got a blank canvas with Willow Grove. So this is such a ginormous opportunity. This is what excites me. This is what brings this passion. This is why I'm asking for your vote tonight. I see a blank canvas, and I see a chance for us all together to paint this picture together, but it's going to be driven by its priorities. Economy always will be number one, but that will not be the only on the list. There will be several considerations. I want them all heard. I like everything you said.
Thank you. Mr. Filippello?
Can you repeat the question?
Sure,
Make
be happy to.
There's a lot of.
From economic development and job creation to waterfront recreation and enhancing the quality of life, the Port of Longview provides many benefits to our region. Describe your vision of the Port of Longview in 10 years. What areas should be the primary focus?
So the Port of Longview needs to be the economic driver that drives this community. Our current property tax value can only go up 1% per year, and the cost of the county could potentially go up 3-4% per year. Therefore, what we need to do is create jobs and economic footprint. Again, I keep harping on this because it is important. I do care about the environment as well and the impact on that, but we need to think first how we can take care of the parks that we're letting go back right now and the parks that we're surplusing and getting rid of. We need jobs, and the only way to do that is to grow as a community, right? So one thing we need to do is make sure that that industrial type atmosphere is there. And I do like the fact that we can implement industrial with a little bit of environmental and have a good balance. That's important, I do believe. But the first thing is economic footprint and creating jobs.
Thank you. Mr. Wilson, response or rebuttal?
The 10-year picture, the 10-year vision is amazing because I don't have it clear despite my glasses. And that's because of Asia. We are closest to Asia than anybody else on the West Coast. 55% of the world's population still exists in Asia. They're hungry. They're hungry for food. They're hungry for a number of products. What a coincidence. The Port of Longview just happens to be in the import-export business. So I think a lot of this future vision is going to be driven by the Southeast Asian or the Asian economy or the Asian markets. So I can't really put a finger on everything here tonight because the target's still settling in. But you can rest assured Asia's not going anywhere. And the 55% of those people are not. And the Port of Longview is going to rise to meet those needs. I'm not sure exactly all the cargoes lined up. There will be plenty. Thank you, Asia, for giving this drive. And quite frankly, the Port of Longview is a lot like the Field of Dreams. You build it and they will come. Port of Longview has something to offer to anybody in Asia. It's Asia who's going to also seek us out.
Thank you. Mr. Filippello?
You know, I haven't heard my opponent say jobs one time yet tonight. And that frustrates me because I do agree with environmental issues, but we need to focus on what we need here, people. I'm tired of my friends, family, their kids wanting to move away because we don't have good family wage working jobs. And trust me, there's room for the environment too, but we need heavy industrial jobs.
Okay, thank you. Trying to figure out, you started first, second, so we're good. Before I move on to the next question, if there are any additional questions, be sure and fill out cards. There are still a few cards up here, and get them to Mr. Botero. Otherwise, we'll kind of wind up here in a moment. Question 8 will be directed first at Mr. Filipello. In light of the longevity of one port commissioner and a former staff member, how will you distinguish yourself as an independent thinker?
Well, I am an independent thinker, but also my alleyways of communication and, you know, reaching across and making sure that you come together as a team and valued, you know, and make negotiations that need to be done for the best of the community. You know, you have to work as a team, but you're also part of a team of all your constituents as well. You know, I'm going to listen to all of my constituents and vote for them and do things that are right for them. Also working with the other candidate or the other port commissioners as well. So, you know, I have a great working relationship with all my customers that I deal with, and I'll continue that same philosophy as port commissioner.
Thank you. Mr. Wilson?
I would like the question
Sure.
read again, please, sir.
In light of the longevity of one port commissioner and the former staff member, how will you distinguish yourself as an independent thinker?
I already have. I've been doing this for years. People in this room have seen me attend the port meetings. Those port meetings have demonstrated my independence. I am an outsider. I have afforded my time and energy for the past several years to make sure I make these meetings and to make the difference. And when I go, I just don't sit there quietly a lot of the times. Fortunately, my reputation may be both honorary or not. I fill the port up with their meetings with constructive criticism as well as needed compliments. I have partaken in that. And that creativity is only coming from my independence. It's come from myself. There's nobody behind me that makes me go to these port meetings to offer up this indifference of opinion, to make it better, to make it improve, to make reform. The port does need some reforms. I don't have all the answers. I want to be part of the solution. So my record will stand on itself. The attendance alone at the port meetings, workshops, and at subcommittee meetings, I have demonstrated such independence routinely.
Thank you. Response or rebuttal, Mr. Filipello?
I think that I can distinguish myself as an independent. I wanted that to be clear. But at the same time, this is a job that is going to have to be able to communicate and work well with others. And I know I can do that.
Thank you.
I stand before you today to offer my independence and my creativity, and we made sure to give you that propaganda, the handout. Please take time to look over my biography, the clubs and affiliations of my community service, my accomplishments. Not that I stand before you and asking for a scorecard, but that's demonstrated proof that I have acted independently. I will continue to do so. Of course the commissioners are run on a team philosophy. It's not a one commissioner show. It's a 3 commissioner show. But keep an open mind. Why can't it be a 5 commissioner show? There's such a large, the port is changing, ladies and gentlemen. The independence is going to have to grow with it. I seek additional thought and input from all of you. In fact, I'm not quite so sure that 3 commissioners are enough, if it's independent enough. So I have talked about going to a 5-member commission. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question will be directed at Mr. Wilson first. As a candidate running for the Port Commissioner's seat, you have followed the Haven Energy Project closely. Please give us your opinion as to your stance on the Port's decision.
I was in Singapore. I was about 7,460 miles away when the decision was made. I followed the project. I had attended every meeting up until that point. I missed that meeting. That's a black marker, I guess, but I wasn't there that time. That in a way surprised me. Going in, I thought that there would be, rather than be unanimous, I thought there would at least be 1 or 2 that would offer a support for such a project. Oh my goodness, we need jobs, and we need them yesterday. I thought that alone would carry more than 3-0 vote to exclude it. The Haven Energy Project proves a point that the port needs to redirect and reform its cargo and its cargo feasibility routes. It's a very complicated, very big process, but it all makes sense. I don't expect me to understand it tonight. They're in 3 big books that the port works on a regular basis. A master plan, a strategic plan, a comprehensive harbor works, which is a planning document. These are huge things. So I can't explain exactly why Haven didn't pass. But as long as the process was preserved, then that decision has to stand. It's easy for me to sit here and pull armchair quarterback. But as a commissioner, I will look at any and all sides of the story fairly and openly. I wasn't privy to that information. I wish I was the fly on the wall. I wish I was a commissioner then. I want to be a commissioner tomorrow. Because with that information, I can take some common sense, and most likely I'm going to do just what I threaten you with. I'm going to apply it. And that may change things. But until I had further information, I can't stand before you today and tear apart a decision I didn't have the accurate information with.
Thank you. Mr. Filippello, would you like the question repeated?
No, that's fine. You know, I don't know all the forces that were at nature on that particular deal. I'm sure we don't, you know, if we had more available to us, we could make a little better educated guess on why that deal fell through. But a 3-0 ruling on that tells me that something wasn't right and it wasn't the best fit for the port. That's not just a majority, that's all. So I stand by all 3 commissioners. There was something there that obviously the deal was not the right fit for the port.
Okay. Mr. Wilson, response, rebuttal?
Yes, my rebuttal to that would be I would hope a port commissioner never guesses on anything. This is a very serious multi-million-dollar entity running around the $39 million a year area of things. I have experience running companies that have budgets in multi-millions of dollars. And there's nothing you guess at that. The stakes are higher. That's why I want to look at the process. Stakes being so high, there may be something wrong with the process at the port. The process to gather and how we solicit and attract people. Who are we attracting? What process are we going through? But whatever it is, that process will be preserved. And the guess word, I will never guess. I will seek informed and educated decisions only. So I really wish I was there. I can't offer any more with my tenacity. I wish I was there. Vote me in and we'll find out how it's going to be.
Thank you. Mr. Filippello?
Again, we don't have all the information. I wasn't guessing. I'm saying that it was a 3-0 vote, and I stand by the commissioners.
All right. Final question of the evening. This will be directed to Mr. Filippello first. What do you think of the port getting involved with the old landfill? I assume they mean the Radakovich landfill, but...
Well, it's a piece of land that is very essential to, again, the economic footprint for the port, for Barlow Point. I think that they're doing the right things that make it go forward, and Jeff's going to have a huge time frame on this, so I'll let him go and I'll get a rebuttal.
Okay, Mr. Wilson?
What I can say is my actions have spoken louder than the words you hear tonight. This is the Thai guy. You can hear me loud and clear tonight. I wish you could go back in time and watch me appear at the port meetings. At those port meetings, I have discouraged the port commissioners to get involved in the Mount Solo landfill. The landfill is illegal. It is leaking. It is in litigation. It is a multi-million-dollar liability. The port has hundreds of acres available for all types of development. The city of Longview combined with Longview has massive amounts of acreages yet that are not been utilized for industrial development. Why would you need 66 acres of a $20-some million cleanup? And why would the Port of Longview want to get involved with taxpayer money and backing into a private party mess? A private party corporation created this mess, this pimple, that is not very good, and the port should stay out of it. The port needs to worry about its own business and create jobs and not get involved in something that is no good for the community in any way.
Thank you. Mr. Filippello, response or rebuttal?
This property is going to be essential for creating jobs. So I think they're doing their part in trying to create jobs by pursuing this.
All right. Mr. Wilson?
Uh-oh, here comes the mean guy. I disagree with that entirely. The port has absolutely no plan. It's not identified in any of its existing plans. The harbor plan, the strategic plan, and the master plan. It's not mentioned in there. It's not sought after for economic development. And the reason why is, to begin, because there is already an excess of lands they haven't figured out to do with now. The Mount Solo landfill, it's a topic that I'm curious whether my challenger wants to bring it up because I live next to it. I want to make this perfectly clear to you. I don't have any skin in the game. The port does not own the Mount Solo landfill and shouldn't. I can tell you I live on Mount Solo Road. Between me and the Port of Longview's property is 106 acres of neighbors between me and the port property. I am not a direct neighbor to the Port of Longview's property at Barlow Point. I'm separated by this leaking landfill, and it's no secret I don't like it. And I don't like it because of the threat it is to the taxpayers. You can look at the daily news many times and look at my public record. I'm more concerned about the taxpayer getting stuck for the cleanup bill of a private sector mess. That's been my story from day one. You don't need the land. You've never needed the land, and I can't see getting involved into the land until it's properly adjudicated. The process must be preserved. Everybody has to go through the same process. That's what I'll think on that.
Thank you. Actually got a little close to the time frame that time.
Close.
We'll move to closing statements. I believe Mr. Filippello, you get to go first for closing statements by your choice.
People, as you can well see, Jeff was a little bit more prepared for this than me, and I was a little nervous at the beginning, and I apologize for that. My main concern is for everyone in this room, and I want to do a job for you, and I want to make the right decisions for you, and I want to make sure that your kids and your grandkids have jobs and can stay in this community and contribute to this community. I'm about jobs, I'm about economic growth, and with a simple mindset of keeping the environmental impact as well, being safe and a nice balance. I'm looking for your vote today, and I promise you I will be a voice for you. I do not have a personal agenda. This was a very strong, heavy decision on my heart to make this, decision to run for Port of Longview Commissioner, because I really feel the need for an outsider to come in here and say, hey, you can talk to me and you can tell me what you think is right and what's best for our community. And the majority is going to rule. And I really believe that that voice needs to be heard, and I need to do that for you people. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Wilson, closing statement.
Thank you. My vision is to help the port get into the 21st century. Maybe dragging and screaming and kicking, but it's going to get there. And it's going to get there in a fair and open process. I've already been doing this. I have served the community for 35 years, and I've done proud. I've done so without acclamation. I've done so without wanting anything in return. And I stand before you tonight to ask for your vote. It's a very personal gift. But I need it from you. I want it from you. We need it to take the port to the 21st century. The port is not a complicated process once you get involved, because common sense really can make magic, and magic can happen. I'm interested in that. Of course, the economy and jobs will be the #1 priority. We need to get there, but we need to get there as a team through that process. I feel I'm well suited for that. The history that I've demonstrated through my businesses and my community service, I'm no stranger. In fact, I may have worn my welcome out at some public meetings at the Port of Longview. I will not rest. I promise you 110% to a committed future. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank both of our candidates, please. Thank you. Just a few comments as we close our evening. First, thank you, Ken Botero, for the organizational put together for all this. I don't know. I think Chris is left, but thank you again to Canterbury for putting that together. Thank all of you in attendance, especially thank you for Duaine doing video for KLTV, and Marissa, is that correct, from Daily News, for being in attendance to help publicize this and get the information out. And as I always do, a very special thanks for both of the candidates for putting themselves forward. It's a very difficult thing to put yourself forward and get out in front of people, give them your opinion, and take the shots that people out that take at you. So with that, thank you very much. Tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, right back here, we have Kelso City Council position number 7, Nancy Malone and Gary Schimmel will be out. And I believe there's one other race that Ken is trying to put together. We'll have more information on that if we're able to do that. Last thing, I am very much a believer in evaluations and constructive criticism. If anybody has any thoughts of how we could improve our debates or our forum, please let us know. Thank you. Have a good evening. Thank you, Mike.